This is where it all comes together. You've done more than imagine a new reality. You've collapsed the old one. You've stepped into a new identity, even if only for a few moments. And in that shift, the field responded. But now comes the part most people forget: integration. Jumping isn't the finish line, it's the entry point. Because living in a new timeline means staying stable in it, even when old energies try to return. And they will. You'll feel echoes, old emotions, old doubts, old patterns trying to creep back in. Not because you failed, but because your system is adjusting. That's normal. Like tuning to a new frequency, there will be static at first. Ghost signals from the past may whisper, "Nothing's changed," but they're not truth. They're residue. You're not meant to fight them. You're meant to stay aligned with your new identity, calmly, consistently, clearly, not by trying harder, by responding differently. When contrast shows up, ask, which version of me is being invited right now? Because that's what this is really about. Not control, not force, signal, and your signal sharpens with every coherent choice, every grounded breath, every decision made from truth instead of fear. You didn't jump into a new timeline. You dissolved the illusion that you were ever separate from it. This life was never far away. This version of you was never out of reach. The connection was always there. You just finally stopped ignoring it. So now live as if it's real, because it is. Walk in it, speak from it, choose through it. Let this new identity feel normal, because when it becomes normal, it becomes reality. And if this message found you at the right time, don't let the algorithm decide when you remember again. Stay connected, stay aligned, stay awake. The field is listening. Let it hear who you are now. So how do you stay in the new timeline? How do you remain aligned when everything around you still looks the same? You don't force it, you don't fake it, you anchor it. Anchoring doesn't mean repeating affirmations all day. It doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It means responding to life from your new identity, even when the world hasn't caught up yet. This is the real test of coherence. When the bank account still shows lack, but you respond with trust. When a relationship feels tense, but you speak from self-worth. When fear shows up, but you answer as your highest self, not your oldest one. Every time you choose the new observer, through your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, you stabilize the field. And that stability is what reshapes your reality. The quantum field doesn't reward effort. It reflects consistency. You're not being tested, you're being heard. Every subtle frequency you emit tells the field exactly who you believe yourself to be. So instead of asking, why hasn't my new reality shown up yet? Ask this, what version of me have I been reinforcing today? Because quantum shifts don't happen during moments of inspiration. They happen in moments of doubt, when you still choose the new you. And yes, you'll wobble, you'll forget, you'll fall back into old habits. But each time you remember, each time you breathe and return, you retune the field. Eventually, the old frequency fades. What once felt like effort becomes ease. What once felt like pretending becomes real. You're not faking it until you make it. You're feeling it until you stabilize it. And one day, without even noticing, you'll look around and realize your external has changed because your internal never stopped holding the signal. You've made the shift. You've released the old version of yourself. You've stepped, maybe for the first time, into a new identity. But here's what no one tells you. Jumping isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Because once you land in a new timeline, the next phase begins. Recalibration. Just like updating software on a device, when you install a new operating identity, the entire system goes through an adjustment. And yes, it can feel strange. Things start to shift, subtly, then more obviously. People might react to you differently, not because you said anything, but because they feel something. Energy precedes language. You might find some conversations don't resonate anymore. Some relationships start to shake, not because you're rejecting anyone, but because your frequency has changed and they're still tuned to the old you. And then, something even more unexpected happens. The old timeline tries to pull you back, not as punishment, not as failure, but as a vibrational echo. a signal from the past trying to reclaim its place. You might feel overwhelmed, emotional, not because you're broken, but because your nervous system is adjusting to an unfamiliar vibration. It's like switching the radio station after years of static. At first, the signals overlap. You'll hear whispers. See? Nothing's changed. You're still the same. That's the test, not of strength, but of clarity. This is where most people undo their jump. Not because the new identity didn't work, but because they mistake discomfort for failure. But discomfort is not the enemy. Discomfort is confirmation. It means the old code is breaking. So when it gets messy, when things feel uncertain, that's not the time to give up. That's the moment to hold your frequency, to stay anchored in the identity you've chosen, no matter what. Because that's how you stabilize the timeline. Not with force, but with consistency. Now that you've made the choice to let go of the old self, here's how the transformation really begins. This isn't a technique. It's not a hack. It's a conscious realignment. And it happens in 3 powerful steps. Part 1. Witness, don't rush past this. Sit in full presence with the version of you you're ready to release. Let them speak. Let them be seen. Not judged, but witnessed. Most timelines don't fade because we force them out. They fade because we outgrow them with grace. Part 2. Sever. This is the moment the entanglement shifts. Say it out loud or in your heart. This is no longer who I am. I release this version. I collapse this observer. Yes, you'll feel resistance. That's normal. The old self will fight for its life. But here's the truth. It only has power if you still believe its voice is yours. Part 3. Choose once you've cleared the space. Choose the new identity. But don't just think about it. Embody it. Stand like them. Move like them. Breathe like them. Don't ask, what would the version of me who has everything do? Instead ask, what does that version no longer tolerate? Then stop tolerating it, now. These steps aren't something you do once and forget. They become a way of being. Every breath, every decision, every reaction is either reinforcing the old self or anchoring the new one. And here's the rule of quantum mechanics. The observer collapses the wave into a particle. Reality conforms to the identity of the observer, but only when that identity is consistent. You're not chasing your future self. You're remembering it. It's already encoded in your energetic field, waiting for you to walk the path. So ask yourself, are you finally ready to walk it? So how do you actually shift? How do you stop looping in the same patterns and start moving into a new reality? It begins with something most people never consider. You have to let the old version of you die. Not metaphorically, energetically. Because the version of you who created your current life cannot be the same version who lives the next one. You're not just shifting goals, you're shifting the observer, the internal identity that has been collapsing your timeline into the same outcomes over and over again. And that shift doesn't happen through force. It doesn't happen through pretending, chanting, or wishing harder. It happens through awareness. So here's your first step. Sit with this question, honestly and without flinching. Who is the version of me that's currently choosing this life? What are their core beliefs? What do they fear? How do they speak to themselves when no one is listening? Really feel it. You might notice a heaviness in your chest or a tightness in your throat. That's not random. That's the energetic imprint of the self you've been collapsing into reality. Now ask the most important question of all. Am I willing to let that version of me go? Because every jump is a funeral, a quiet, conscious death of the self that no longer aligns with where you're going. And most people resist this, not because the old self is helpful, but because it's familiar. Familiar pain, familiar struggle. Even suffering can feel like home when it's what you've always known. But now you have a choice. It's not about escaping your past. It's about witnessing it, releasing it, and choosing something new, intentionally, clearly, and fully. That's the beginning of the real jump. Here's what most people don't realize. The quantum field doesn't respond to your desire. It doesn't respond to how much you want something, how many affirmations you say, or how vividly you visualize. It responds to your frequency. And your frequency is shaped by your embodiment, not your thoughts. You are the observer, And in quantum physics, the observer is the one who collapses the wave into reality. But here's the catch. Which version of you is doing the observing? This is the question almost no one asks. And it's the reason why so many people never actually shift timelines. You can't jump into your dream life while still seeing the world through the eyes of the self who doesn't believe they're worthy of it. You can't shift your reality by visualizing success while still making decisions based on fear. Because the field doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about your alignment. It responds to what you reinforce through your behavior, your focus, and your energy. And sometimes when you feel those sudden glimpses of another life, like deja vu, or a powerful dream, or that fleeting sense that this isn't all there is, that's not fantasy. That's your future self, already watching, already reaching, already calling you forward. You're not imagining it. You're bleeding into it. It's bleeding into you. The entanglement is active. The question is, how long will you keep ignoring it? In the next part, we're going to explore how to re-entangle your field, not just by thinking new thoughts or saying the right words, but by collapsing the version of you that's been keeping you stuck. Because that's how the shift happens, not through effort, but through identity collapse, frequency alignment, and choosing a new observer. That's the moment the field begins to respond. Let's talk about why you haven't made the jump yet, why your reality still feels stuck, even when you're doing all the right things. It's not because your dreams are too big. It's not because you're not worthy. It's because your current identity is still entangled with a version of you that's just surviving. Let me explain. Quantum entanglement isn't just a science concept. It's one of the most well-documented, yet least understood phenomena in modern physics. It means that once two particles are linked, they remain connected no matter how far apart they are. Change one, and the other responds instantly. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But what does this mean for you? You're not just a body moving through space. You're a living, breathing energy field. And just like those particles, you are entangled, not just with people, but with versions of yourself across different timelines. Versions that made bold decisions, versions that healed instead of hiding, versions that acted instead of waiting. And here's the truth. You're not disconnected from them. You're either vibrating in sync with them, or you're not. And the field? It reflects whatever version of you is currently active. Not who you want to be, not who you used to be, but who you're being right now. Here's the glitch. Most people unconsciously stay entangled with the version of themselves that's still stuck. Not because they want to, but because it's familiar. Familiar thoughts, familiar pain, familiar patterns. And what you stay entangled with, you reinforce. You collapse it into reality, again and again. So when someone says, "I've tried to manifest, but nothing's working," it's not their effort that's the problem. It's the signal they're sending. A signal rooted in doubt, fear, and an identity that doesn't believe it's possible. That's the real block. And it's exactly what we're here to dissolve. Let's get one thing clear. The quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It doesn't react to how badly you want something. It reacts to one thing: coherence. Not your hopes, not your words, not your vision board, your frequency. And your frequency isn't shaped by what you think about for 5 minutes a day. It's shaped by who you are in every moment. Your energy, your emotions, your choices, your self-concept. The version of you who already has what you desire is not some far-off dream. It's not waiting in the distance. It's already here. It's already broadcasting. But the field doesn't respond to want. It doesn't recognize begging, hoping, or trying. It responds to clarity, to certainty, to identity. Here's the thing most people miss. You are always sending a signal to the field. Always. And that signal is coming from the observer within you, the internal identity that is interpreting life, making decisions, taking action. But who's observing? That's the key question, because the observer determines the outcome. The identity behind your eyes is the one collapsing potential into reality. So ask yourself, what version of me is doing the observing today? Is it the version that feels empowered, abundant, aligned? Or is it the one that's still surviving, still hesitating, still doubting? That's why quantum jumps don't happen through action alone. They happen through identity collapse. You can't leap into a new timeline while still anchored to the self who doesn't believe it's real. You can't embody success if your choices are still driven by fear. So the field waits, not for effort, but for resonance. And sometimes that future version of you is already pulling the cord. You feel it in dreams and flashes, in moments when reality feels thin. That's not fantasy, that's the signal. The only question is, are you ignoring it or are you ready to align with it? This is where it gets powerful. Two quantum principles, entanglement and jumping, come together to unlock a truth that most people overlook. Let's start with quantum entanglement. At its core, it means that once two things are connected, they remain connected, no matter how far apart they seem. When one changes, the other responds instantly. And this isn't just about particles. This is about you. You are entangled with every version of yourself that has ever existed, and every version that could exist, including the one who already has everything you desire. That version isn't imaginary, it's real. It exists right now in the quantum field, and you're not waiting to become it. You're already connected to it. Now here's where quantum jumping comes in. Most people misunderstand this. They think it's some kind of magical escape from their current life. But it's not about escaping. It's about recalibration. It's about shifting the frequency of your identity so that you line up with a different version of reality. It's a choice, a decision, a shift in perception. And you've felt this before. That moment where you made a choice and everything changed. That instant when you saw yourself differently, even if only for a second. That wasn't your imagination. That was a timeline ripple. That was a jump. Every gut feeling you've ever had that said, you're meant for more, that wasn't a fantasy. That was your future self, leaking through the cracks, whispering back through the layers of time. Because in the quantum field, time isn't linear, it's layered. And that means your future self can reach back just as easily as you can reach forward. You're already in a feedback loop. You're already entangled with the version of you who made it. The only question is, are you ready to listen? Because that connection is active, right now. Here's the truth most people never realize. They spend their whole lives trying to force change from the outside in, hustling harder, setting more goals, trying to fix their reality by doing more, thinking that if they just try harder, the life they want will finally appear. But change doesn't begin with effort. It begins with identity. Even on the spiritual path, this pattern repeats. People discover ideas like manifestation, the law of attraction, and visualization, and they try to use these tools like shortcuts. They imagine the life they want, they repeat affirmations, they visualize success, and yet nothing truly shifts. Why? Because they're still operating from the same identity that created the old reality. You cannot build a new timeline on top of an outdated self. You can't rise while you're still entangled with the version of you that needs external proof to believe. That's why this isn't just another video about manifestation or mindset. This is a deconstruction of reality itself. It's a deep dive into how the quantum field actually works and why your results haven't matched your desires. This is where two powerful concepts come together: quantum entanglement and timeline collapse. Quantum entanglement explains why your energy, your internal state, directly influences your outcomes. It's why your thoughts aren't isolated. Your subconscious, your emotions, your identity, all of it is broadcasting a signal constantly. And that signal isn't what you say. It's not what you post online. It's what you embody without even realizing it. So if you've ever felt like manifestation doesn't work for you, it's not because the law is broken. It's because your field is still entangled with the self that doesn't believe it's possible. But the moment you collapse that old identity and choose coherence, energetic clarity, the field has to respond. That's not wishful thinking. That's physics. And it's the key to jumping timelines. You're not separate from the version of you that already has everything you've ever wanted. You're not chasing it. You're not behind. You're entangled with it right now. This isn't about someday. This isn't about once you heal, once you learn more, or once you finally figure it all out. The version of you that's already living your dream life, it's not a fantasy, it's a frequency. And the field, the quantum field, is constantly responding to who you are being, not what you're wishing for. Most people think manifestation is about wanting something really badly, but that's only the surface. The real signal the universe listens to is your identity, who you decide to be. The life you're dreaming of doesn't require more effort, more hustle, or more time. It requires a shift in how you see yourself and what you embody. So let me ask you this. If your life feels stuck, if your goals feel far away, could it be because your current identity is still wired to the version of you who hesitates, doubts, and self-sabotages? The version of you who already has the success, the peace, the alignment. That version is already alive. You're entangled with them through something science calls quantum entanglement, which means even if you can't see it yet, you are already connected. The signal is live. But here's the catch. The field doesn't respond to who you wish you were. It responds to the version of you that's active now, the energy you're radiating, the identity you're aligned with in this very moment. When you shift your state, not just your thoughts, but your inner being, the universe begins to rearrange everything to match. That's not magic, that's mechanics, quantum mechanics. So the question isn't, is your dream life real? The real question is, why haven't you tuned into it yet?